Now that's just a sample of what God's doing here at CTN. We hope that all of you can be a part of this ministry, and we look forward to seeing you here in the Underground. I'm JG. This is the Underground. You're watching CTN. Peace.
Tracing days is a blur of activity lately. I've been going all over the Southeast the last few weeks just doing radio and TV stuff and having just a great time meeting some neat people. So it's been awesome getting the word out there and promoting the video and the CD. For the single, I was so excited that Kyle ended up wanting to make this the first single because it's really my favorite song on the CD. It's called Life Outside. And Life Outside is really autobiographical about something that happened right after I became a Christian. I just started getting excited about my faith when I was about 17 years old, and all I could think of is I wanted to tell somebody about it. So I had heard some people, it seemed like everybody was able to share the gospel on the plane when they sat next to somebody, so I prayed for an opportunity to do that. And got on the plane, was heading to LA from Bozeman, Montana, and I had a layover in Salt Lake. Well, what I didn't plan on was my girlfriend was going to dump me when I saw her in Salt Lake, which is, the funny, sad part of the story. But, so I get back on the plane, I'm so happy, I'm not sitting next to anybody. And I sit there just for a couple minutes, and a guy comes back and sits down next to me. And he says, is everything okay? And I'm kind of embarrassed and thinking, oh, wow, I don't want to share the gospel with this guy. This is not how I planned it. And he sits down, and I start telling him, I know I look terrible, but the truth is God's got a plan for this. He's in control, and I know He's a good God with good plans for me. And he's a 35-year-old businessman, and he starts asking me probing questions, and you're thinking, why would he do that, 17-year-old kid? And we talked for the next half hour, and he kept probing and asking more and more questions, and I got to share the gospel with him for about an hour on the plane down to LA. And towards the end of the conversation, he says, well, you're not going to believe this, but last night I had two beautiful missionaries come to my door in the hotel and share a message with me that I was just really confused by. And he said, so I prayed last night that God would send somebody, to bring the message about Himself. And I said, well, you're not going to believe this, but I was in Bozeman, Montana last night praying for an opportunity that God would bring somebody on the plane today. And so I think as this God, God is the rewarder of those who seek Him. God is about bringing people to Him. And that was just an awesome opportunity to see Him set something up that He was about. And it's just encouraging to me as a young believer to see that God answers prayer when I'm about the things that God's about. When I desire what He desires, He sets it up and makes it happen. So that's the first part of the song. And the second part of the song is about a friend of mine named Bob Foreman at Grace Bible Church in Bozeman, Montana. And he works in maintenance for the church. And he's had polio for about 30 or 40 years, I think it is now. And he's worked in the church for years, and he is a picture of contentment. He's a picture of a guy who is happy to be working, who has hope. And he's just the funnest guy to talk with. And he actually ended up on the video for Life Outside. He actually got in that video with us, and we just had a blast with Bob. But just contrast those two pictures of a guy who shouldn't be happy and is, and shouldn't be content but is, with a guy who should be happy and isn't. And just, the fact that the gospel turns their circumstances on their head. He really blesses the weak, those who come to Him. There's three other guys that helped me make the record. Jonathan Skillman is from Montana, Logan Shelvin plays guitar, and Kendall Canning played bass. And these guys, I always joke that, I'm the face of Tracing Days on the road, and these guys actually have real jobs back home. But they're just my best friends. They're guys that I led worship with, and I can talk about anything with them. I get together with them all the time and have lunch just to talk about where they are with God, where am I with God. So that's the type of relationship. So really the music followed that relationship later. I started playing piano, I think, just late in high school. I was a late bloomer. I was the biggest music fan I knew, but I never wanted to sing in front of anybody. In fact, I would shake so badly on piano, when I was up there that I couldn't play in front of people, so I never wanted to do that. But as it turns out, I kept, increasing in skill, and so some worship teams asked me to play, and eventually I got asked to lead worship for a college group at Grace Bible Church. And at the time, I was thinking, if I do this, I'm not going to have time to do original music. And so I was kind of bumming, and I was thinking, is this really what you want me to do, God? And I prayed about it for about a week, and I was just convinced, I need to be willing to use these skills for whatever God wants me to do. So I took that position thinking, that's the death of a dream. That's going to be the last time I have a chance to really do original music. And as it turns out, that's where I met all the guys that helped me make the CD, which is to understand that how amazing that is. I come from Bozeman, Montana. There's about 30,000 people there. Not a lot of Christian rock musicians, that would, approach music the same way that I would. So to run into these guys that had this kind of skill level and this kind of desire was pretty amazing. So just, you lay it down, you say, God, I'll give it to you, and He gives it back in a way that I didn't expect. And I shouldn't even, say that I think, doing the rock music thing is the pinnacle, because I'd say leading worship has been every bit as fulfilling. In fact, what I get to do is train people to lead worship, and so that has a level of fulfillment that you don't even get as a performer. It's just an awesome time. One of the things that I agreed with my wife, and she never demanded it, but I've always said, if I really have a ministry with people, the very first ministry I have is to her and to my daughter Jessica, who's 4. And so, I guess just my commitment before God was like, I need to take care of them long before I do any audiences out there, and make sure things are good. So they actually travel with me most of the dates that I go, and so I'm really blessed to have their support, and just I guess the commitment to do what God wants us to do, but not to sacrifice the family relationship, which I think is supposed to be the most important relationship we have. I don't think I have much of an advertisement for people if I'm not first taking care of them. Yeah, I had a youth group leader one time. I used to sing Michael W. Smith when I was, just starting to sing when I was very young. And I had a youth group leader say one time afterwards, "Man, you sound just like Michael W. Smith." And I said, "Well, great. Do you like the way he sounds?" And he looked at me with a straight face and said, "Not really." And I still laugh because this guy was so honest with me. I wasn't a Michael W. Smith fan, but that's all I sang, so I was definitely a Michael W. Smith fan and still am. I think he was the first guy I watched when I was little that I thought was cool in doing Christian music. You make that bridge. Man, when I'm on the road, if my wife isn't with me, I do Red Lobster because I've got to have the fettuccine Alfredo with the shrimp on the top, which I just had last night, and I realized I better eat this now because I'm going to be back home in 2 days. But I eat that about once a year because she hates seafood, so. Hey, this is Lonnie Bos with Tracing Days, and you're watching Pulse TV on CTN.